Are you tired of small talk? Me too. How do we channel spirit messages? What can angels and demons teach us? What's quantum leaping? How do we shift timelines? Who are the star seeds among us? Are dragons real? Big Souls brings big ideas down to earth. Let's plant some abundant seeds into the garden of. Welcome to Big Souls, Big Ideas. I am your host, Eliane, and today we're going to be talking about clear gifts and the ability to use your spiritual heritage into manifested psychic gifts, seemingly, so that you can help people. This isn't just about experiencing the magic, it's also about sharing the magic with the world and being of service to humanity with your gifts, which we don't often see on TV or in the movies or even in stories, but there is actual practical application for every gift that we receive during our lifetime. And my guest, who is a mindset coach, but also a magical being, is here to guide us how to work with the clear gifts a little bit better, with more appreciation and more understanding of what they mean on our path. Welcome to Clare Belmont. Hi, Claire.
Hi, it's so lovely to be here.
It's fantastic to have you over, and I love that our episodes with Claire Gifts has the guest Claire.
I love it too.
There's big alignment happening.
Yes,
And my
yes.
first question to you is, when did you discover your magic?
I grew up with it. My grandmother and my mother were both clairvoyant, clairsentient. We didn't really know clairaudient as well, and also claircognizant, which is the full feeling and the full knowing. So always, 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 I just knew. I just knew. I just knew. It was a deep knowing. There was something always in me that just knew. My mum was the same. My grandmother was the same, and but we hid it. It was very hidden, and it carried the generational lineage of hiding these gifts because they're not normal or they carry these stigmas, and I think we'll get into that. So yeah, it was always knowing, grew up with it, but often in secret. But there would be psychic communication between me and my mum and my grandma, particularly. So I would just know where they were at and where they were, how they were feeling, and reading a room even as a child, knowing who in the room was feeling what. Yeah.
I think it's amazing that you had guides on your journey to help you understand the gifts, because so many people are born into families where they're surrounded by the muggles, to borrow a metaphor from Harry Potter, and they're the gifted child, they're the person with the magic, but no one around them gets them. And so they're the odd one out, but they're there for a reason. They have a purpose to play out. And I just use the metaphor that many people, when they discover their magic, they get comfortable using the invisibility cloak to keep
Oh yeah.
hiding, to
Yeah,
preserve
yeah,
that magic in society.
yeah.
Even though, especially in the story with Harry Potter, this was his purpose, to be seen, to be heard, for people to know him in the community, because he's the one that can actually handle any battles, any resistance, to not be defined by them. Did you ever feel like this was a burden when you were a child, or did you see it as a magical thing from the very beginning that allowed you to do more than the people around you?
Uh, it was a gift to me. It was a gift because also I had a very difficult childhood, very difficult, abusive, raised by alcoholics. So for me, it was a gift and a way of escaping in some ways. It was a way, and it was also a way of kind of preempting a situation and keeping myself safe. So in many ways, it was a gift. Yeah, and then when I was at school, I did hide it as well.
Mhm.
Talking about the Muggles, I was in a, I was quite a street kid really, and in the UK we have these council estates, and when you're raised in a poor family, it's kind of, you fend for yourself. in those days. This was the 1980s, 1990s, and so it was a very different time then, and so it was hidden a lot, but it was also a great gift. Yeah.
You stay quiet to fit in. I think even people that,
Yeah.
they have creative abilities, they don't need to have the spiritual abilities. They tend to learn from a young age. It's not okay for you to stand out too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have the same gifts. Like you're taking the spotlight from people with more power, more prestige, money, status. Like, we're programmed from a very young age to see ourselves divided from those with more means. And some children's ego is much bigger than ours because of their parents. And so
Yeah.
what you carry in your soul, what you bring with your soul's expression is not as valued in society as in terms
Mm,
of status, in terms of ego.
mm.
Did you continue to hide your gifts in the workplace, or did you begin to see a different way of sharing those gifts there?
So yeah, I mean, they were just kept hidden. It was just kept hidden. It was kind of like me and my imaginary friend in many
Mhm.
ways.
Yeah.
And me and my imaginary friend just kind of got through the day and got through life. But I always knew it was there, and I always knew they were there. But I just never actually talked about it, never spoke about it, unless there were times when me and my mum were alone together, or me and my grandmother were alone together. Then we would talk about it, but it would kind of just be shrouded in mystery still. Yeah.
I can't help but feel that this is such a loss in society, because your story is one of many of people that have had these gifts when they were very young. They knew about them. Sometimes they had mentors, other times they didn't, but they always knew that there's a reason they have these gifts, to be of service. And so when we dim our light by hiding those gifts, we're not able to fully express ourselves, but also to contribute to the positive change in society. But for those that are, hearing the word clear senses or clear gifts, what are actually the clear gifts? Would you introduce us to them for people that are maybe just discovering their own magic, or they're seeing people around them harness more of their gifts and they're like, oh, I want to be more supportive. Maybe I don't have them, but I want to be more supportive.
Yeah, it's really not such a mystery. I mean, it's easy for me to say because it's intuition. Um, but so there's a whole list of clairsenses now. Like I remember when I was growing up, it was clairvoyance is where you can actually see things. So you can be in normal reality and you can see everything around you in the room, but there's also more. There's like more. There are more beings, or I get a sense of a shadow behind me, or I get a sense of a light over there, or and it kind of filters in and out as well. So clairvoyance is the seeing. The clairaudience, which is very, very strong with me, is the hearing. So I can hear sometimes very clearly in my own voice, sometimes very, very clearly in other voices, sometimes completely random voices and accents will even come in and give me advice. And I'm like, well, that person's from the Caribbean, or that person's from Ireland. And it's really random. So clairaudience is the hearing. Clairsentience is the feeling. So I get the feeling, I get the shivers down the back. The most common feeling I get is actually tingly legs, which is actually quite common. A lot of people kind of get tingly legs or tingly lower back or tingles here. Or also with sentience, it's feeling. So you can walk into a room and you can feel what the other is feeling. And a lot of empaths have that. There are many, many labels for it, but as empathic human beings, if we're open to our senses, then yeah, we can absolutely sense the other's field, or sense the field of the room, or walk into a certain event and just get a feel for the feelings in the place, the emotions. Claircognizance is the knowing, and that's just very strong in me as well. It's just knowing. There's just a deep knowing. I just know this, and explaining that in society is really hard. Why are you doing that? It's mad. I know, but I just know. I just know. And then when I follow that, of course, it works out. So, and then I had to make notes with the new, well, they're not new, but And I'm like, yeah, I do that too. So there's a Claire aliens, which is smelling. So you get smells. And I often smell jasmine, lavender, burnt toast, which is a bizarre one, and certain foods. That sometimes these smells will just come in, and I'm in a really bizarre place, but I'll smell baking bread or a really fruity smell, or just so smelling is one. Claire Gustance, I had never heard of, is tasting.
Mhm.
I don't get that too much, but I know that people do. And if I set my imagination to it, I can. I mean, I think a lot of us can. If we set our imagination to something, then I can taste it, see it, smell it. It's the senses. It's this all of the senses. And then Claire agency is touching, so I can feel like. And again, if I apply my imagination to it, I can feel a texture. I can feel fur. I can feel silk. I can feel metal. And we can adapt. We can really build on these as well to actually go into substances. We can go into the frequency or the vibration of the leaf, into the frequency of the metal. In fact, in martial arts, they teach you to become the steel. So when you're, if you really want to strengthen your bones with the strike, then you learn over time to become the 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 block that you're hitting, basically. So yeah, so there's many of the Claire senses that we all have.
Absolutely. And the Claire Gustance ones, I realized that I had it when I would not stick to the recipe because I knew better. Maybe it's because I
Right.
knew what I wanted to eat, but I also had this intuitive knowing what I need to put in the dish to make
Yeah.
it more
Right.
soulful, more healing. I also have this ability to speak to my body. So my body would, I would ask, what do I need? And then I would receive the image. In
Yeah,
my
it's
imagination, I
good.
would see the images, the clairvoyance to show me what I, so oftentimes when I'm needing healthier food, I would see an image of broccoli and I know my body needs broccoli. I don't know exactly what's in the broccoli, but I know that my body needs it because it's going to give it the
Yeah.
supplements that it needs. And maybe it's my higher
Yeah.
self, maybe it's not my body that's telling me that. But once we begin to live with those gifts and we stop hiding them, we embrace them and we get curious about them, even if we're not creating videos and resources, but rather we're openly accepting them, holding more space. Maybe the people around us don't want us to do that. So we take more space from the people, away from the people, to honor our journey with those gifts.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big part of it, is actually pulling away from the external distractions so that we can tune in to those gifts, because it's often that people don't think that they have them because they're not still and quiet enough to actually hear them, feel them.
Or they hear them so much, they want to escape
Oh,
that
yeah, I've done that
and they
too.
turn
Yeah,
to addictions,
distraction.
coping mechanisms,
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
I've seen a lot of, I mean, I've seen it in representation in TV and in movies where people are like, "Oh, make it stop! Like, make the voices stop!" And the voice that you're hearing, sometimes it's genuinely there so that you can ground
right.
the ideas, so that it's a warning. It's for your protection, which is the
Yeah,
clear audience. It's just that because so much of your life you have spent disconnected with yourself, this voice is only going to get louder. If you're
it does.
clairaudient, the voice is only going to get louder because your higher self needs you to acknowledge. It's a little bit like when you're repeating the same narcissistic patterns and cycles and you're meeting the same narcissistic partner. At some point, the treatment of that person or the people, every consequent one, is going to get worse because your higher self wants you to break the cycle. And
Yeah,
if you're not going to break the cycle when it's comfortable, when the pain is tolerable, the pain has to increase. If we take a more holistic, quantum, metaphysical approach as to why we're here and why we're experiencing the things that we're experiencing when it comes to our own evolution, our self growth, one of my theories is that we develop these gifts or we become more aware of them, especially if you've been unconscious about those gifts, even though you had them from when you were a child, because it's time for you to be of service to society with those gifts.
right.
What have you found in your life to be the purpose of those gifts, especially as you're activating new modalities? Do you think that it's always about sharing them with others, or is it about making yourself more visible so that people can find you?
I think it's both, but I've learned over the years that there's a lot of discernment, and there's a lot of discernment necessary in both in all directions with this, because the purpose of them really is for a deeper connection. So a deeper connection to myself, a deeper connection to the other, and a deeper connection to the divine wisdom, whatever you want to call it, higher self. So it's all, for me, the purpose of it is for connection. However, who and what and why I'm connecting then becomes this level of okay, I need to just check in, because in my 20s it suddenly became exciting when it was okay to talk about this stuff, and I found my first spiritual circles, and then I just wanted to spill it to everybody all the time. And I knew this stuff, so I needed to share it. I needed to teach the people that didn't get it and didn't know. But of course the people that I was trying to share it with didn't get it and didn't know. And so it then just became, I was then ostracized again, the pattern again. And it became that pattern of me being the crazy one hearing voices, or except with a select few people. And so I did learn around discernment. And so, yeah, I think but now it's almost coming full circle. Like now I'm nearly 50 and I don't mind sharing it. Like, this is great for me. Let's talk about this. Let's normalize now, particularly in professional and business environments, not necessarily, well, just in society at large, really, where we're so distracted all the time. But why not open up to it? Why not discuss it? Why not? We know now, we all know that we are not just this body, that there is way more to our energy fields, way more. And as a holistic being, then I want to nurture and I want to connect and I want to share what feels good to me. So now again, the discernment's deepened, where I know and trust who I can share this with, because I know that the others will drop away. They'll pass by. It's fine. That's fine. There's 7 billion of us out here. We're not going to be for everybody, and that's fine. But I do think it is important to talk openly about these things that were once, and in a generational healing perspective as well. This lineage behind me, they deserve that. They deserve to have their voices heard as well. And there's no woman in my family that's done this and felt okay about it. So I think it's time. I think it's absolutely time now, that full circle where I felt as a teenager to hide it and keep it back. Now it's like, okay, 3 decades later, let's have open conversations. But I use it in my business a lot as well, and day-to-day life, and it's just a normal thing for me. So, I'm not coming out here with any fanfares that this is a special thing, but I'm happy to have these open conversations, that we all have this, and let's train our intuition. If you don't want to call it clairsentient, fine, but you have this gift where you can see, hear, and feel something that's beyond you, and you can use that in your day-to-day life to bring you back to what's right for you with the knowing. So yeah, that was quite a long-winded ramble answer, but
You're absolutely correct. And you mentioned two key points. One was connection. It's not just connection to people, your peers, it's also connection to your family at a different level, at a deeper level,
yeah,
more, I suppose, higher lens, so that you can see why they're going through the patterns that they're going, and what's your purpose in that family system. Because your family has already broken certain cycles. They couldn't broke they couldn't break certain cycles, so that's your role, to continue breaking those cycles. And
yeah,
maybe your children are going to continue, maybe your cousins, maybe your family, extended family, they're going to continue breaking some of the cycles, so that
yeah,
that family lineage can be healed, can be ascended, can be awakened, can be reintroduced to practices that our ancestors were already
yes,
very familiar with, and they tried
yeah,
to preserve them, but society kind of suppressed us at a collective level. This isn't individual, this
yes,
is collective suppression. So your
yes,
connection sometimes might be when you feel disconnected from society, it's because it's time for you to connect to your higher self, to connect with your
Yes.
ancestors, your spirit team, those that have come before you, those that were speaking about these gifts before you. They might even be archangels. It might be your time to reconnect with archangels so that you can ground more of their wisdom that has been
Love
lost in
that.
society. So don't neglect the connection that you have outside of the connection that you have with people, because sometimes that connection is not the most important one, especially when you're activating those gifts, you're understanding how to operate with them. I grew up without necessarily thinking that I was magical, quote unquote. It's more
Yeah.
to say that I always had an interest in philosophy and spirituality. So I would always read these big books, and I would always kind of mind my business because I wasn't interested in the conversations of other people or their interests. But there were clues. And one of the clues was I was collecting a comic book called Witch, which was about five best friends that each had magical powers. They had alchemy, like elemental alchemy. So there were always signs. It didn't make sense here that
Mm.
okay, I'm just interested in that. Like that has nothing to do with me. That's just a comic book. So we're always trying to communicate with each other, like our higher selves, the inner child inside of us. It's always trying to communicate with us, so
Yes.
nothing is random on your journey. And the other point that you made is that we all have intuition, and we've been so disconnected from our intuition, which has continued this suppression of our inherent gifts.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong about our intuition. The more we open up our intuition, we connect with our intuition, the more we feel our emotions, the more
Yes.
what's naturally inside of us is going to come to the surface. So it's not to say that the more intuitive you become, the more you're going to hear the voices and see the images. It's
Mm.
more to say
Mm.
maybe if you were a chef, you're going to become a better chef because your clairgustance is going to be cleared. So you're going to be
100%.
able to create a brand new cooking book and
Yes.
outperform your competitors. That's one
Yeah.
practical use of the gifts. I'm
Good
more
point.
interested in getting your perspective around how does one activate their clair senses, especially if they feel that they have, the spark coming to the surface, but they're not able to fully rekindle that spiritual fire.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean it's about coming into stillness. Often it's more about blocking the external noise and just tuning in with myself. And easiest to call it intuition, because it doesn't have to be tuning into a higher power, a higher self. It doesn't need to look like prayer. It doesn't even need to look like meditation, although these tools are wonderful to activate. So going out in nature is a beautiful way to activate it, because Mother Nature, the trees, the grass that grows, the plants that grow, they all have a natural vibe to them. They're not trying to be anything else. They're just quietly growing and doing their thing, and they vibrate at this natural frequency and natural rhythm that isn't expected to do something next, or grow quicker, or grow faster, or grow bigger in a certain amount of time. It's so connecting to nature is a beautiful way to activate. Being still, particularly being grounded, like proper grounded, barefoot in the earth, is a daily practice for me. Or touching a tree, um, getting good quality daylight. These practices are really, really important. They're ancient techniques as well, particularly in the morning. Maintaining a little bit of that alpha state when we first wake up is also another beautiful way in, because your higher self and the subconscious and the dream state is kind of still here with us as an echo, just as we're waking and just as we're falling asleep. So if someone wants to activate or tune into that aspect of themselves, that's a beautiful time to do it. And they'll be doing it anyway as they're drifting off to sleep, or as they're waking up and having these kind of random dream memories or whatever it is. So writing that down, if someone did want to attune that a little bit more, writing that down when you first wake up, or purposefully and intentionally counting yourself down and counting yourself into a place. There's so many audios available online now where you can do that and take yourself into that state before you sleep. Another one I think is learning to trust, like learning to trust that voice, because we've all got it, and everybody has said at some point in their lives, God, I wished I got that thing fixed when I felt I should have, or I wished I'd spoken to that person when I did it, whatever it is. So acting on that, acting on it, rather than letting the logical brain come in and go, well, you can't do that, you can't do that, why do you want to do, the doubting and the questioning. Before the doubting and the questioning comes in, take action on the kind of oh, I want to do that. Well, why do you want to do that? I just do, and I'm going to go and do it, and go and do it and act on it, or write it down, or call the person, or write the thing. And so practicing acting on it, the universe provides, it then pings straight back to us a verification or some level of affirmation, or the right person at the right time. And the more and more and more that we can practice doing that, acting on intuition, acting on that feeling, the feeling of intuition is it's curious, it's I wonder, it's fizzy, it's I wonder. It's not the what if, how am I gonna, trying to figure it out, I'm in my logical brain, I need to I've got to make the lists. It's not that. And people find it difficult they want to figure it out before they do it. But actually, if you can just trust the knowing, trust the fizz, and do the thing, the next step's going to be revealed. Like, we don't need to figure it all out. And the more that we can practice that, and trust that, and even be playful and amused with that, be lightly amused by it. I wonder if I do that, I wonder what that's going to lead me to. And so just try. We're out here to experiment and play. And so closing the screen, going out, playing, keeping it light, dancing is another good way to activate. Dancing, singing, doing things that bring you joy, to raise the energy, to raise the frequency. Now your gifts are starting to come online, because it's like the fairy aspect of us, the inner child aspect of us, the higher self aspect of us is playful and light and bright, and all those things that we want to try and reach. Well, it's already there, it's already here. So activating it is really activating joy, activating lightness, and having these regular practices so that we can exercise it. Yeah. And also, I think often having a buddy, like knowing we can have these trusted conversations. If I know, which I do know, I have a safe network to communicate like this in, that's really important too. Because if you're surrounded all day by, grey, from my own experience, working in a grey box, living in a grey box, wearing a grey suit, driving a grey car, feeling, I'm not going to talk to these people about this stuff. I hid it. I want to be out there in the fields, laughing in colour, having the full colour experience, and finding those people I can laugh and have joy with. And so it's a practice of that as well, is finding the people that we can connect with. And there's plenty of us. Sometimes we feel like it's a lonely path, and that is part of the path as well, because solitude in this path is important. So having that quiet and the solitude and knowing my inner peace, but also then, knowing when to reach out and connect to activate it as well.
I love this, Claire. Beautiful answer. And I do have some follow up questions. Can we do this on our own, or do we need someone in terms of a teacher, a mentor, a guide? Because I feel like I've done a lot of the journey on my own and I've been able to
Yeah.
do it, but I know that not
Yeah.
everyone is going to be able to, which is why there are so many teachers and healers and shamans. And also, this is a very much guided journey. So if you are asking for more help, help is going to be provided on your journey. But if you feel like you want to conquer the mountain on your own, this is a spiritual mountain. You're not climbing Everest, so you don't need a whole team, especially when you already have a spirit team. So
Yeah,
maybe it's a matter of even bending our mindset to allow for the team to form in our imagination, to know that we're never alone.
lovely. Yes, imagination. That is enough. Like imagine. That's that space again. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you have this invisible, mystical, beautiful, gorgeous family of light that is always with you, that can never leave, that will never leave, and that is a part of you as well? Can you imagine how gorgeous that is? And so, yeah, imagination is a huge part of it. And the teacher thing, teachers, healers, shamans, coaches, is a big topic. It's a topic in itself, that one. Because I think yes and no. I think it depends on your stage in the journey, the level of discernment, and also, to be honest, yeah, the universe always delivers to us
Mhm.
what we need. So yes, there are great teachers, there are not such great teachers. There are really highly experienced teachers and there are less experienced teachers. It's all coming from a place, if we can assume that it's coming from a place of good intent. And if I feel like you are my person that I want to share with, and I feel that, feel genuinely, you've got to feel into this. I feel that you can hold space for me, or I can hold space for you, or we can have this open conversation and we feel safe and rooted in the body, then yes, absolutely, teachers, coaches, healers, therapists, all of this within spiritual community, wonderful and brilliant. And I think we're coming to a stage now where we are more curious about this as well, and it's almost becoming a bit of a trend. Which is great. I mean, on one hand, it does call out all of the spiritual bypassing and spiritual judgment
Yeah.
on the one hand as well, which is great. We need to have that too. You judge each other. We there are people we resonate with and we don't resonate with. There are communities that we come into and then we grow out of. It is what it is. I think that definitely a network of teachers is absolutely so beneficial to have those teachers, mentors, role models, that kind of stuff, guides even. But the most important teacher is really coming from within. And so we never want to be giving that away and asking, how should I be XYZ? How should I be accessing this? Well, darling, I can't really tell you how you can access it, but I can give you a whole toolkit that I've learned over 30 years of how to access it. And if one of those tools works for you, brilliant. Let's play with that, and then we can have regular conversations about that. That's generally how it works for me, is that somebody's curious, somebody asks, I say, try this. Have you tried this? How does this feel? Oh, that feels great. Let's try that then. And then week on week, we can practice that. We can deepen into that. However, the most important and only guru is the one in here. And so I've been through the whole things of guru culture and spiritual teacher culture, and diving into a whole variety of spiritual practices and various cultures. And part of the reason that I travel so much is also for that, because I want to get a feel for the ancestry of the land, and how does it look in Mexico versus how it looked in India. It's fascinating to actually have those opportunities as well. But ultimately, throughout all the years and all the travels, it's got to come from here. I know what's best for me, and I'm going to trust that direction above all else, above all advice, above all teachings. There are some teachings from over here that really resonate, and there are some teachings from over here that really resonate, which in the past would have been quite contradictory. but now actually it's fine. It's fine, because if that resonates for me and it's my path and it's my relationship with my intuition, who's to judge? So we need to do it our own way.
And I think judgment can save our lives as well sometimes because we need to be a harsh judge in the face of someone that might feel manipulative or that has hidden intentions. Maybe we're wrong, but we shouldn't go against our own intuition. If there's something inside of us that's saying, I don't feel safe around this person or this community anymore, we
Yeah,
listen and we
yeah,
trust the inner guidance because there are various reasons why we wouldn't feel safe. It's not necessarily that the people are bad. Maybe they just have coping mechanisms that you're more likely to pick up if you stay a little bit longer. So there are certain abilities that our intuition has that can lead us in alignment with our highest good that we cannot really understand at the level of the logic, but when we trust that guidance, we're able to move in a way where we flow. And sometimes we flow
yeah.
in, you know, patterns that are not straightforward and make sense to the rest of the world, but they do for our story because one day everything just aligns. And one of the reasons I think people deny the the path of the intuition or the voice of the intuition is because sometimes our intuition says, I want to experience that. And they think, I don't have the money. I can't afford that. Well, how can I afford that? If I afford that, I'm not going to have money to eat or I'm not going to have the stability anymore. So it's a loaded conversation. And I'm not sure there is an easy answer because I've been in situations where I've been guided to go and buy new crystal or a new set of tarot cards. And my logical mind is like, but you already have one set of tarot cards. You don't need another. Or you already have one crystal. You don't need another. But there is something that my intuition knows, my inner child, my higher self. There's something about having that item that's going to be of service to me so that I can be of service to other people. It's going to allow me to access a greater version of the gift. So money is definitely a loaded conversation because I know that we live in a world where we're very oppressed by the 3D world and we've been made to be oppressed. The system is designed that way so that more people don't ascend and awaken because if everyone had the creative freedom and the spiritual freedom, we would not be living in the current version of reality. We would be
Yeah.
using our imagination to bring innovation at such rates that the magic that we're going to channel onto earth is going to transform the way we live. And I'm not saying we're going to replace the workplaces and there's not going to be any schools, but the way that we're going to operate is going to be so much more colorful, connected, and united that
Yeah.
those that are currently profiting, they're not going to be able to profit anymore because we're going to be listening to our intuition, our soul, and creating positive change. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about the subject of money because it's a big one.
Yeah, it is a big one, and I've done those programs. I've done the wealth mindset. I've done the hypnotherapy. I grew up in lack and scarcity. I carried that weight that society carries with never enough, not enough, and money. What I have come to learn, I mean, I've come to learn so much about it. Like you say, it's a loaded question where to begin. But a big one that I have learned is that money really, it's an energy. It's just an energy that we exchange. It's something. Yes, it's been given a name. It's been given a tangible note and coin that we can use. So then it highlights whatever that thing is. I've now got to put a value on it. So this note or card, I'm showing my age again, but I use cash as much as I can still. So whatever the numbers that we put on in exchange for this thing, those numbers just highlight the thing. And so whenever we think we can't have something because of the numbers are just highlighting the thing. Well, now we're focusing on the numbers and the lack of numbers. I don't have enough numbers to get the thing. Well, what does the thing mean? And this is how I've operated now for years. It's okay. Well, what does the thing mean to me? And something that you said is really, really key. Well, it means that if I have this example, if I have this, I feel like this stone and give me a level of protection. It's going to keep me, it's not an exact science or literal, but you get it. So it's going to keep me and protect me. It's going to keep me in a space of equilibrium and calm, so that when I'm walking through the street, I don't feel nervous and anxious. Therefore, I can give off an energy that's calm and that puts others at ease. It's for the greater collective. Everything that I want to have isn't just so that I can hoard it and have it and feel smug that I've bought all of these things because I'm a rich person. It's so that I can share it, so that my experience of life feels light, comfortable, at ease, good. I feel abundant. Now I can share that. That's the whole point. And so when we know that we're sharing it and that we're creating a better day and that we're, yes, bold statements, creating a better world, then the numbers become insignificant. It doesn't matter. Like it and it's easy to say, but I've done decades of work on this stuff, and I've just come out of another abundant mindset because I'm studying hypnotherapy as well. So part of that is just coming into this real next level abundant mindset now, which is like now really tuning into, which is something that I've always done. And again, with the money, coming back to the money thing, it's not about the money, it's about the experiences that I want to have and the feeling. How do I want to feel? How do I want to feel? And what steps can I take today, right now, to start feeling that way and bring my mindset into more abundance? And that just could mean that, and I've been here where I'm buying all of the cheapest stuff because I don't have much money this week, except for the coffee or except for the tea. That is premium, most luxurious label that I can possibly get because I'm worth it, because I deserve this. And it's that mindset. When you come into that mindset of worthiness and deserving and abundance, it's not about the price tag or even what we're buying. Or about the money. It is a mindset, and I'm big on that. And it's not, mindset isn't all in the head. Mindset is absolutely how we feel. And so it's coming into that feeling of how do I want to feel? And again, I'm driving this boat. I'm not selling my hours for a wage to pay the rent. Yes, I've chosen to live in a much more alternative way, and many people are. But once you kind of come into the mindset, then you do realize anything is possible, really. And these numbers are just numbers. And if I'm choosing how I want to feel, again, it's easy said and done. And it is a loaded question. It's probably a podcast in itself, because people do want to know, well, how do I get into the feeling? And they want to figure it out again. And I'm saying, no, you don't figure it out. You feel it. And then that kind of, perpetuates a whole nother tangent. But it is a big one, and we've been programmed massively by money to be a slave to money and to be a slave to the numbers. And again, whole nother topic, but we're not a slave to anything, anyone, any number, any note, any card, any piece of plastic. We're not a slave to any of that. We can live abundantly and we can feel amazing, actually on much less than we think. In terms of the numbers, because the numbers don't matter. If my basic needs are met for one, and I've made sure that I've done that, now my confidence is raised. So now my confidence is raised, I'm attracting more of that, and I'm attracting more of that energy. And the same goes with money. We do attract it. It's the laws of abundance and these things. And I sort of, part of me still feels a bit, oh God, it's so easy to get slated for saying money mindset. It's all an abundant. We're all in abundant flow, and it's so easy for me to say. And I get it. It's a big one. It takes a lot of work to break the mindset of scarcity.
Continuous work.
Yeah, and it's ongoing. It is ongoing. Yeah, I still have these little anxious flushes sometimes when I do see something that I love and it's expensive, and I'm like, oh, the childhood patterns do come back up, and I get a little anxious flush, and I have to kind of just check myself with that. Yeah, it's ongoing. Has to be ongoing. All of these energy practices have to be ongoing, consistent, every day, as everyday part of life, not just for meditation once a week or a retreat twice a year. It's got to be every day.
I mean, especially considering that the programming is 24/7 and the programming is designed to keep us in a lack
Right,
mindset, in fear-based
right,
mindset.
right,
The frequency is meant to be you should be scared. You should be scared to
right.
go outside of your house. You should be scared to confront society. You should be scared to be the misfit. That's
Yeah,
the message that we're hearing consistently,
yeah,
and it's visually giving us a lot of examples as to what happens if you're not scared,
yes,
that there are consequences, that you should fear the system, which again, different conversation for a different podcast episode. But absolutely, one way to kind of test if you should buy something or not is think to yourself: is this going to allow me to share more of myself, or is this going to add more weight to my luggage? Because
oh, I
sometimes
like
we think,
that.
oh, I need to buy more, I need to buy another suit, I need to buy another dress, but then we're meant to not be captives to our environment. We're meant to be visiting people. We're meant to be exploring cultures. And so I have a large suitcase with me. I've traveled a lot, and I find myself sometimes giving clothes away because I think
Same. Yeah,
that was something attached to an identity. That was something that I
yeah,
thought I needed because society told me I needed to have more outfits, that it's unacceptable to repeat my outfits. But actually, that piece of clothing does not bring me joy. And so, what you mentioned about not sacrificing the quality of your tea or coffee, find what actually is giving you joy, because some of the things that we need to buy, like shampoos, they're for the survival, for our health.
yeah,
They don't
yeah,
necessarily
yeah,
bring
yeah.
us joy. But if you find maybe a piece of makeup that brings you joy, you're not to judge that. You're to say that actually brings me joy. I'm gonna get the premium brand. If your
Yeah,
coffee brings you joy, which it does to me, I'm not gonna sacrifice that because I've
hell
bought
no.
cheaper coffee and it tastes like muddy water. It doesn't taste like the coffee that, makes me
Yeah,
channel my soul way
yeah,
beyond the hours I should be spending in work. But when I have that little ounce of joy with me every single day, it helps me push past my comfort zone, I suppose, or the
mm,
resistance. It helps me
yeah,
to survive a little bit longer when I've gone into the survival mode, so that I can still channel that abundant
right,
thinking, and share the messages of abundance. And
yeah.
something that you mentioned around the crystals, this doesn't actually protect me. It's a visual manifestation of my belief system
Oh,
and my
nice.
inner
Yeah,
knowing that I am always protected. When I see this,
love
I'm
it. Yes,
reminded I am protected. I don't need to fear. I don't need to worry. So,
yes,
having the luxury of buying something like that, it's just that reminder, that visual cue. And it's also an opportunity for you to share that with somebody else to empower them. So, it's
yes.
not selfish, and also it's not too expensive. If
Yeah,
it reminds you of that core belief that you are safe, you are capable, you're protected, and so on. So it's a big conversation, and I love that we're having some really bold statements into this conversation to help people maybe examine their own belief system and continue
yeah,
their journey around abundance mindset, because some of those wounds, lack mentality, they started generations ago, and it's their
did.
time to break the cycle.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is. It's only two generations back. It's only my grandma was in the war. She was rationed. They were. So that's in my that's
It's in the psyche. Yeah.
yeah, it's in my bones. So to break that, we're doing big work out here. We are, and I love also that we are bringing in bold statements. Why not? We've kept them quiet for too
Mhm.
long. What? Why not? We absolutely should be. Yeah, I love it too.
And especially the empowerment of women. I mean, if we look at the oppression that women have experienced, and also the killing of women, the destruction of women,
Which
their voices,
wounds?
their ideas.
Huge. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's important work. Even if it has a ripple effect just in our immediate environment, I think energetically it impacts way beyond that, even
Oh,
if we
it
cannot see
does.
it, which is where
Oh,
the light
it
work comes
does.
into play.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
But I love to examine what are some of the myths, misconceptions about the clear gifts. You mentioned the witch wound, and I've mentioned the word witch again. I think when people hear that you have gifts, they think there's something wrong with you. That
Yeah.
that you are surrounded by shadows and dark energy, that you're gonna
Yeah.
bring that to the I don't know. These are some of the things that I've seen online. I see a lot
It's
of
true.
Christian content creators in particular that are preaching crystals
Yeah.
are bad, tarot cards are bad. Like if you're seeing
Yeah.
things, if you hear therapists, they deny us having these gifts. They think, oh, you're
Yeah.
having psychosis, you're experiencing schizophrenia. Like that's not normal. So
Yes.
they put you onto pills. These
Yes.
are absolutely huge red flags for our ascension and
Absolutely.
awakening. Yeah.
Yeah, I was medicated in my late teens and early 20s. There was a period of a good few years where I was just flat to this, where my signal was cut off on antidepressants. Because when I did tell a doctor, I did actually tell, I did go through a period of whatever you want to call it. Is it psychosis? Is it an awakening? Again, there's another whole beautiful conversation around that, because these periods where we break into other parts of our psyche are very, very powerful for us to tune into these gifts. And yeah, I was heavily medicated for the doctor put me on antidepressants. I was taking antidepressants and what are the other ones? I don't know. It's like a form of Valium anyway. They used to just hand that out freely. Initially, my mum had taken me to the doctor for anxiety and depression. I was also going through these bouts of psychosis awakening where I was seeing and hearing fully, like seeing and hearing like there was somebody present right here with me, and I could have a full on conversation with them. I didn't know them, but there would be a full on conversation happening. There would be conversations happening in my head, some good, some bad. And when I shared that with the doctor, immediate reaction was to block it, give her pills. Block it, give her pills. And I shut my mouth and I stopped at that point because I had already seen another college friend go into a psychiatric ward for very similar reasons. But she was very, very outspoken about she'd kind of gone with, I'm done with this. And I found her so brave. It was like, God, I wish I could just say I'm done with you all and your doubt over this, because I know that this is real. And imagine if, which we can do now, we can come out strongly. But yeah, a lot of the myths are around mental illness. You're mentally ill. Well, says who? This, in certain, one comes to mind in shamanic culture where somebody is seeing, hearing things. They're celebrated for these gifts. They're celebrated. They would never be medicated. They're celebrated for it. And so, and we've carried, particularly in the West, yes, this the demonization of it, the demonization of tarot cards, the demonization of, gosh, anything really that can crack open the psyche. There was this whole thing in the 70s and 80s around anti-psychotic, psychotic medicines, around psychedelics and stuff like that. So we've been, again, programmed that parts of the brain that function in the mystic realms is wrong. It's wrong. It's bad. You're ill. I was always too imaginative, too imaginative. She's too imaginative. She's a dreamer. Yeah, you're damn right. I'm a dreamer. And those dreams, I'm actually, I'm living, I'm a testament to those dreams. So yeah, I've seen a lot in society over time of, that's why me and my mum and my grandma kept it quiet, because we knew we were witches. It was like we knew we were witches, but the thing is, I'm not a witch like with the pointy hat, and I'm not trying to do evil in the world. And my nana actually was one of the women who I saw her as proudly a witch, and I see other women who are, yeah, doing all the things, making spells, because our words are powerful. Yeah, gathering stuff from the hedgerows at certain times of the year, because those qualities, when certain plants and things grow, it's that time of year that when we infuse that in our body, it's going to protect us the most, or it's going to support our blood functioning and oxygen functioning the most. So fascinating. But those things are considered kind of silly and woo, and we haven't got time for that. People haven't got time for being out there talking to plants and talking to the hedgerow and picking nettles to make their tea and all of these things. They want to go to the shop, buy it in a box, get it in quick, and carry on with the next thing. And I think a lot of these gifts has been lost in convenience, and just people poo-pooing it because it's dark magic. It's a lot of it kind of came out with the Aleister Crowley kind of stuff, and his work was poo-pooed a lot. And Dion Fortune is another one of my absolute favorites, and she was poo-pooed a lot as well, for being into dark magic. But magic is magic, and it's in the hands of whoever uses it. We're all casting spells out here, and we're all making potions and lotions out here, and it's as good as the person who's making it and my intention behind it, really. But I love talking about magic and spirituality and being out here with it now, because generally I would hope that people can look at me and kind of think, well, she's not the crazy mad witch who, I mean, I could easily live in the woods on my own, but easily. Yeah, I'm out here in society kind of being normal and running a business and being a good human and yeah, weaving in all of this. Let's weave in a bit of magic. Yeah, let's go. If you're open to hear it, let's do it. Yeah.
I think so many people are experiencing burnout because they're suppressing their souls and there is no
Mm-hmm.
returning back to the working modalities before the burnout. I think, well, some people go back and then they experience another health problem after that and they're like, okay, now I'm done. What's next? How else can I live? And this is when they start to experience the supernatural, as they call it. When in fact, the supernatural is the way of the natural flow of life. It's always meant to be supernatural because you're always meant to be interconnected with everyone. It's your division that's creating the suppression, the oppression. And so that judgment that comes when you embrace your gifts, if you're able to overcome it, you're going to inspire someone else to go through their awakening, their self actualization journey, I suppose. They're becoming. And one of my favorite things about shamans is that when they become of age, they're kind of let into the open, maybe for a week. I don't know. In different regions have different tales, but that's kind of, especially for when the boy is becoming a man, they're let out into the open, into the jungle, into the forest, and that's their way of reconnecting with nature at a deeper level, because ultimately we come into our family system and our family is supposed to welcome us, take care of us, teach us the way of the world, but they're still keeping us disconnected from nature because we come into a family system that's in a house or in a building, but we're
Yeah.
not living in nature anymore. So one of the ways of becoming a healer and a shaman is you have to reconnect with nature one way or another. Maybe you spend more time in nature grounding. Maybe you start to infuse your diet with more herbs,
Yeah.
with more
Yeah. Yeah.
plants. Maybe you
Yeah.
start your own garden. This is one way that you're reconnecting with nature because nature has wisdom to give to us to strengthen our understanding, not even our gifts, but our understanding of those gifts, because the gifts are already there. It's just that we don't understand them sometimes. And one of the main reasons, I suppose, that we have these gifts activated is because we can protect the knowledge. So, not everyone is given those gifts if they're going to be careless with their desires, if they
Yes.
have
Exactly.
ill intentions for other people. I think some people are
Yes.
so heartbroken because of the way that the world has treated them that they cannot find their way back to forgiveness. Somebody who cannot
Mm,
forgive others is not going to be given the juicy gifts
it's true.
because they're going to do bad things in society. They're going to want to seek revenge, which is not an enlightened person. This is a person that's still stuck in the programming with a broken heart. When in fact, their heart isn't even broken. They're just experiencing a lot of pain that they need to alchemize.
Yes.
But we get there
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah, and it's and maybe we don't also, like, maybe it's just a constant ongoing process, and we keep expanding, and we keep evolving, and we keep growing, and it is what it is, you know. We're here to experience being human, and all aspects of that. And that's what I love about these conversations, is it explores the more mystical aspects, while also, though, being in our, you know, being in our bodies and having a logical, rational
Mhm.
conversation about it. It's wonderful. Yeah, I think we do keep slowly, that is the key. It's like slowly,
Mhm.
step by step, we keep evolving. There's no great big cloud mountain top that we're just suddenly going to be all zen on 24/7. That would be boring anyway, surely. I mean, although again, it's something I feel like I could easily do. However, we need to be here in
To
society
be in
sharing
alignment,
this.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think this
yeah,
was one of the things when I kind of envisioned, oh, if I could be in a tower separated by humans, I would just ground all the ideas, and then I realized, but I'm not going to be in alignment with my purpose, because my purpose is to co-create with people. If I was separated, I'm going to perpetuate the cycles of division and separation, even if the people around me don't understand me. My being, my presence around them allows them to let go of some of the preconceived notions or
exactly.
some of the emotions. But as we're talking about magic and people that might have already activated all of the gifts, they have already shifted their career path from corporate to more spiritual, more entrepreneurial. The big question now is, how can we use our clear senses in real life, maybe to build a business, maybe to offer a service in our community, maybe to have more healing conversations with our family, with strangers, with friends, with our children, in a way where it's not just magic and witchcraft, but actually it's bringing spirituality down to earth and making something in real life to create positive change on earth and
100%.
survive,
It
obviously,
is.
make money with with this gift.
Yeah, which comes. It's another one of those things which comes because we attract. We're not out here trying to get anything. We're not out here trying to push and force. We're cultivating our inner gifts, and then we become magnetic. And again, these are phrases that are thrown around a lot. Like, we see it a lot in spiritual community and the coaching industry and these things, but it is true that we do become magnetic. And you know, in terms of practical application, like, it really helps with our decision making as well. When we trust ourselves, I can make a decision real quick. It's just a decision. Like, it's not even a right or wrong decision. It's just I get the feeling, I make the decision, I act. I used to think I was acting impulsively or spontaneously, and that was dangerous, and I should be more risk averse. And when I got back into my logic, it was like, okay, then I shouldn't be doing that. But actually, no. Make the decision, trust yourself. When you can align with your intuition, you get you act on it. Well, maybe it is, maybe it's not right or perfectly as imagined as it was in the plan, but it's a step forward. And now that step forward reveals something else to me or somebody else to me. And then I've got the freedom to choose then, because my confidence is growing, because I'm aligning with my intuition and higher self. So now I feel more confident to say, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to carry on in this direction. Or do you know what? It's not going to work. I'm going to pull back and I'm going to try this. Okay, let's try this. And it's just about trying and experimenting and trusting ourselves and knowing, I know I've always got my back. I know I've always got my back. I'm not going to end up in the gutter hungry. It's just not going to happen. I know it. And when we know and trust ourselves, well, now I trust myself, so now I can trust the other. Now I can trust the other. Now I can build a team in business. I get the feeling. I trust the feeling. I trust the knowing. This person's cool. I'm going to work with them. Great, let's go. It might work out, it might not, but at least we're on, you know. And generally, when I trust that feeling, particularly in business, great clients, great team, great conversations, and so we can deepen into that. So absolutely, we can and should, I don't like the word should, but can tune into it, so that we can trust, so that we can build this foundational trust in our professional relationships, personal relationships, and also hold space for each other. Because I'm not, because I know, because I have this knowing, and also then I get this sense of a feeling. Now I can hold space for people in my business. And one of the reasons that I do what I do in coaching is because I do love holding space. I'm curious about people. I want to know about them. I see the best of them. I feel the best of them, and I want to encourage them to know that they can bring the best of them out into the world as well. And so when we have that sense of stability within ourselves through using these gifts, through trusting my higher self is going to give me that intuitive hit to talk to this person. Now we're building and creating, coming from the place of the creator, not the seeker, because we're all spiritual seekers and we want that. But knowing that I'm creating this, I'm building this business, it's exciting, I'm birthing this new thing, I'm creating this masterpiece, I'm writing this book, I'm doing whatever it is. And so using these gifts in that way every day, let the intuition guide, let the intuition lead. Doesn't all have to come from the brain. Yeah, we've got to make rational decisions and logic it out sometimes. Yeah, we do need that. We've got two hemispheres of the brain for a reason, but allowing intuition to take the space and lead. We're growing businesses, we're deepening relationships, we're enhancing our lives, trying new things, learning new things, doing things that scare us, coming out of the comfort zone. Because I know, oh God, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, but I know it's going to be good for me, so let's go. And taking risks and learning new things, and therefore expanding business, expanding relationships, expanding opportunity as well. And then we start attracting because we're open. My arms are open. I'm feeling good. It's like I'm feeling good. My arms are open. I'm ready to attract and receive. When I'm kind of like this and trying to logic it out and how am I going to do this? It's like my arms aren't open. I'm closed. I'm shut down to receive anything. Money, business, people, all of it. And I do that really well. I do that as well. That this is from experience. I love my solitude so much that I can very, very easily just kind of go, oh, do you know, I'm just going to stay over here on my own for as long as I feel like it. So yeah, it's a balance, but so I'm absolutely all over anybody and everybody aligning with these gifts in everyday life. Because it's not just a woo thing for the mystics, and it's not just for meditation, and it's not just for living in a cave or in the woods. It's a part of us that is online whenever we want it, and we can grow with it. Absolutely. Businesses, friendships, family, healing, reading the room as well. It's really handy for that. Social situations, you can align with your intuition and you can read the room. And empaths often think, I don't want to take on the energy. Well, I don't have to take on the energy. I don't have to feel what they're feeling, but I can read what they're feeling, and I can know where feels safe to approach and where doesn't feel so safe to approach. So aligning with it in that way as well, just it helps us to be much more informed with our decisions. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what you just described is you don't have to preach your spirituality. You can be a
Mm,
spiritual being having a traditional career path, but to use your gifts to make better decisions, to understand who you can trust better, to seek for confirmation from your own intuition, which is something that
absolutely.
people sometimes ignore. They already know when somebody's not showing up the right way. Their intuition is telling them there's something off about this person, but they choose to ignore it because the logical mind is saying, but they're not doing
Yeah.
it, everything. Like they're wearing the branded
Yeah.
clothes, they come from a good family, nothing's wrong. Like
Yeah.
that's where the perception really can mess up with that intuition, because it's not even a perception, it's a learned perception, because we've been conditioned to think if a person looks a particular way, if they wear particular clothes, if they drive a particular car, if they live in a particular neighborhood, they're fine. When
Yeah.
actually some of the most notorious abusers, manipulators in society, they're governmental leaders,
Yeah.
they're politicians, they're actors, they're musicians. Their ego is so big. They play the role really well. They're great actors, but actually they have a lot of darkness inside of them.
Yeah.
And I think at some point that darkness comes to the surface because that darkness is obscuring who they truly are. And so their souls are also fighting for that expression, but they turn to the darkness a little bit more,
Mm, mm.
which is another conversation, I suppose, for another episode. I've absolutely enjoyed our time talking about the clear senses, the
Me
clear
too.
gifts. Thank you for sharing your magic with the world. Is there anything that you would like to say to people that are kind of discovering their gifts for the first time and they are maybe seeking some encouragement or, some confirmation that they're not going crazy, that this is just part of the next chapter
Yeah.
of your life?
Exactly that. Exactly that. And that we're never alone with this. We're never alone with this. There is no crazy. There's a spectrum. There's a big old spectrum of color, and we're all on that spectrum somewhere. There's no going crazy. It's trusting. If there's a way to trust a little bit every day, this inner voice, this inner knowing, and act on that just a little bit every day, but every day, keep it consistent. Trust it as part of yourself. It's like, we know that there's a subtle body all around us. We know we have an auric field. We know we have subtle energy as well as the physical body. So I would just encourage people to be curious. Just be curious. Keep it light. It's like it doesn't have to be like a dark, how
Mhm.
do I need to sit, light a candle, stare into a mirror, all of the things. No, just be playful with it. Just talk to your imaginary friend. Use your imagination and see what comes up. Just play. No one knows, no one's judging, no one knows what's going on inside. If you need to imagine your bubble of light, or the invisibility cloak, whatever it is, just playing with the imagination. That's what I encourage. Play, lighten up, play with it. It's fun.
One of the tools that I saw was try to think of the voices or the images or the connection that you have to that which cannot be seen as an assistant. So give your
Yeah,
inner assistant a name, and then when you need help,
yeah,
when you need guidance, just call on your assistants like Siri
love it.
or Alexa. Like you just
Yeah,
give your inner assistant some name and think of them as your helper on your journey, which is
yes,
more to do with supporting your logical mind with integrating the intuition versus anything else. But
yes,
over time, you're going to see that you don't even need names or labels or titles. You're just flowing, you're just channeling, you're just being present, which is ultimately the goal, I think, for us to live in the real now, in the present moment.
yeah,
And we get so stuck in here and the mind overthinking. My mother did me wrong. My father did me wrong. My grandma did that. My grandfather said that. My sister and my brother and my high school friend. Oh my! I'll never forget what she
yeah,
said.
right.
None of it matters. None of it matters in the end.
No, no, it doesn't. No, it's coming from here.
Mhm.
Just trusting that. Yeah, love
If you
that.
can
Love
channel
it.
unconditional love for all of them, you can
Mm-hmm.
change your life in one day. Just
Yes.
visualize you channeling unconditional love for everyone you know, and you're going to welcome all of that
Yeah.
spiritual heritage. I'm not saying that you're not going to have bad days. I'm just saying if you can shift the perspective,
But, and
that's
again,
all it
why
takes.
not have it? Why not as a daily practice regularly? Just come into my heart 3 times a day. Where am I? Taking a deep breath, breathing into the heart, and then, like you say, projecting that out. Just having that as a sweet day. It doesn't mean that shit's not going to happen in the day and that we're not going to feel pain and we're not going to go through. So we're human, of course we are. It doesn't make us any kind of superhuman. We are what we are. We already are that. So it's yeah, absolutely, as you say, aligning with it. So love
Who
it.
needs my love? How do I need my love? And then who needs my gifts? Thank
Beautiful.
you for joining me on Big Souls,
Thank
Big Ideas,
you.
Claire, and talking about one of the most exciting topics, I think, as part of our awakening and ascension journey, because I think we're all going to surprise ourselves with the
Yeah.
amount of creativity, imagination, abilities power that we have, wisdom that we have. So, yeah, it's allowing ourselves to flow. And I do believe these conversations are helping us move closer to the abundance mindset. So, thank you once again for joining me and for sharing your magic with the world.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much. You too.
And thank you for watching or listening to this conversation.